When I first opened Miss Kim, the number of hours I worked was probably 75 to 88 hours a week. And it was almost entirely spent in the restaurant.
Tofu banh mi, are we sharing that?
Yes.
Okay. Currently, I have weeks where I work 30 hours and I have weeks where I work 60 hours.
Ribs for table 51, carrot salad is extra mile.
More than half the time, I'm in the office trying to crunch numbers or write something or doing research.
How would you sell this at the table? How would you describe it?
My name is Hye Kim. I'm 46 years old and I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Morning. Morning. Morning.
In terms of menu and the food, if you understand the story of the dishes and if we do it justice, even people who may not be familiar with that dish or Korean food in general will be able to taste the difference. When a restaurant opens for the first time, people tend to expect like a big bang of opening and an immediate success or immediate failure. And my restaurant, Miss Kim, was not that. We did okay in terms of top line sales, but it took a little bit longer to build. And I think it coincided with my growth as a chef and my growth as an operator. When you look at Miss Kim finances, the biggest expense is always the COGS, like it's labor cost and food cost. I remember a month where our labor cost was 70% of the total sales. And that was something we created because we decided we're gonna do away with tip credit and pay people living wage so they don't have to rely on tips so much. It was very challenging. For majority of American restaurants, what the servers make is $2 and change or $3 and change, and like majority of their income comes from tips. And then cooks are on regular hourly wage. So on a snowy day, cooks' pay is stable because it's just hourly, it's not hinged on the traffic. On a busy, summery Friday night, servers can potentially walk away with $200, $300 in tips, and cooks will be doing like a double, triple amount of work, but same amount of money. It does not create a conducive environment for teamwork.
Fried rice stone ball, and then one bowl of sesame rice.
So initially we paid everybody $14 to $15 an hour and we refused to take tips. That didn't work. We had customer complaints. They wanted to leave tips because the tip culture is so prevalent in the United States. And what we found is that higher base pay and tips shared across equally between the departments really increased the teamwork. So everybody makes 22-ish to 25, 26-ish an hour. We paid the staff $12,000 last quarter for extra bonus. I grabbed the first job that I can find that were willing to sponsor my path to citizenship. I saw a job posting at Zingerman's Delicatessen for a cheesemonger. What I noticed at the time of my previous job was what worked immediately was negative reinforcement. But I noticed as I was growing as a manager that it doesn't last. But I didn't know what the alternative was. And the more that I read about Zingerman's, I thought to myself, even if I don't end up becoming a lifelong cheesemonger, I think there's a lot to learn here.
Behind the cheese counter, in front of olive oil, behind the bread box, like the whole shebang. of the retail section. Thank you.
At the time, I was 27 and 30 seemed like a really big number. So I decided to give myself 3 years to find out if this is what I want and give some time to explore. I was in charge of olive oil. And these signs, like the Italy signs, France signs, I was specifically in the specialty department where artisanal food was made. All these stories of food made me miss traditionally made food. And I started wondering, like, if I had Korean food or Asian food and I was able to tell this story, what would that look like? And then that's where really gears started turning. They responded very positively and they said, okay, write a vision and we'll start from there. And I remember walking away from that meeting feeling like we got this, we got them to agree to do this and the deal's done. That was a very optimistic, slightly immature business thinking. So I started at Zingerman's Delicatessen as a line cook and a prep cook. And then I went on to Zingerman's Roadhouse where things are cooked more from scratch on the line because they're a full service restaurant as opposed to sandwich shop. So we went in with the Zingerman's line of credit to get the small business loan. There was a 20% down pay, and I paid 50% of that. So there's one way to look at sort of ethnic cuisine. The sort of shallow way to look at it is look at it as a list of ingredients. But I do believe that being true to seasonality, locality, and really thinking about the story of the dish and the story of people who make that dish, the research that we do into it and how we make the decision to adapt it to Michigan landscape makes it inherently very Korean. I like to think that the fact that we really focused on the food and we try to make the service better helped with the sales numbers eventually.
Who wants to volunteer as a tribute to break into Pavlova? Okay! All right!
I've been nominated for semifinalist 4 times over now. And in 2021, I was one of 10 best new chefs chosen by Food and Wine magazine, which is a great honor. So today, I'm doing a pop-up collaboration dinner at Hana Makgeolli in Brooklyn. What Alice is doing in making traditional Korean alcohol like makgeolli and soju and sort of straddle both innovation and tradition. I think it's really impressive and it just felt really natural to do a collab together and have some fun. When I think of next few years at Miss Kim, I think it's very exciting because our finances are stable, we're consistently making profit, we have a solid team and the food is established. We're not going to franchise or duplicate our concept, but a new business tied to Miss Kim or extension of Miss Kim is definitely an option. I want to have a fast casual, vegetarian, Korean spot. Tentatively, we're calling it Little Kim. And I think creating that will also create more opportunities for the staff as well. At the end of the day, Miss Kim's just good food and good times. And I think that's what's making it really work.